producer's tuxedo cost $15,000. The champagne Al Pacino poured on it cost $500. But the lesson? Priceless. The gala was everything you'd expect. Crystal chandeliers, designer gowns, men in tuxedos that cost more than cars. The kind of event where champagne flows like water and egos fill the room like oxygen. Al Pacino stood near the bar, alone. He preferred it that way. He held a glass of Dom Perignon, $500 a bottle. Not that he cared about the price. He'd stopped caring about money decades ago. What he cared about was respect, and tonight, he was about to teach someone what happens when you forget it. Across the room, David Sterling held court. Producer, power player, the kind of man who measured worth in box office numbers and treated people like investments. Sterling was laughing, loud, performing for the small circle of sycophants around him. "The industry's changing," Sterling announced, swirling his own champagne. "Young talent, fresh faces. That's what audiences want now." Someone in the circle nodded. "What about the veterans?" Sterling smirked. "Veterans are great for nostalgia, but let's be honest, their time has passed." Pacino heard every word. He was 20 feet away, but in the acoustics of the ballroom, Sterling's voice carried like a sermon. But that wasn't what made Pacino's jaw tighten. What made him angry was what Sterling said next. Take Al Pacino, for example. Sterling hadn't noticed Pacino standing there. Great actor, legend sure, but he's done. Finished. The guy's a relic. The circle laughed. Uncomfortable laughs. The kind people make when they know something's wrong but go along anyway. Sterling continued. I offered him a role last month. Supporting character. Good money. You know what he said? He wanted creative input. Creative input? More laughter. I told him, Al, you don't get input anymore. You get a paycheck and you say thank you. Pacino's fingers tightened around his glass. One of Sterling's group noticed Pacino. Her eyes went wide. She touched Sterling's arm. David. But Sterling was on a roll. The man's delusional. He thinks he's still Michael Corleone. Newsflash. That was 50 years ago. Now, he's just another old guy taking up space. David. The woman's voice was urgent now. What? Sterling turned, annoyed, and saw Al Pacino standing right behind him. The circle went silent. Faces drained of color. Someone's champagne glass slipped, barely caught before hitting the floor. Sterling's smirk faltered, just for a second. Then he recovered, putting on his producer smile. Al, I didn't see you there. His voice was too loud, too jovial. We were just... I heard what you were saying. Pacino's voice was quiet, controlled, which made it more dangerous than if he'd shouted. Sterling shifted his weight. Look, Al, it was just industry talk. You know how it is. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. Pacino repeated the words slowly. You called me a relic, delusional. Said I'm taking up space, but it's not personal. Come on, man. Don't be so sensitive. We're all professionals here. Pacino looked at Sterling for a long moment. Really looked at him. Saw the expensive tuxedo. The Rolex. The perfectly styled hair. The emptiness behind the eyes. You're right about one thing, Pacino said quietly. The industry is changing. Sterling relaxed slightly. Exactly. See? You get it. It's filling up with people like you. Pacino's voice was ice now. People who confuse money with talent, power with respect. People who think because they can write a check, they can judge a life's work. The circle had grown. Other gala attendees were drifting closer, sensing drama. Sterling's face flushed. Listen, Al, I don't know what you think you heard. I heard you perfectly. Pacino took a step closer. You said I should just take a paycheck and say thank you, that I don't get input anymore. I was making a point about you were making yourself feel important by making me small. Pacino's eyes were steel. That's what small men do when they're afraid of what real talent looks like. Sterling's jaw clenched. You need to watch your mouth, old man. Or what? Pacino's voice was almost conversational now. You'll blacklist me? Ruin my career? He smiled, a cold smile. David, my career will be studied in film schools when your name is forgotten. You know why? Sterling said nothing. Because I created art. You just financed it. Pacino paused. There's a difference. The producer's face was red now. Anger and humiliation warring for control. You arrogant son of a... Careful. Pacino's voice cut like a blade. You're about to say something you can't take back. But Sterling was past caring. The humiliation of being dressed down in front of his peers was too much. You know what your problem is, Pacino? You can't accept that you're done. Finished. The young guys are making more money than you ever did. They're more famous, more relevant. You're just a ghost hanging around, trying to relive past glory. The room had gone completely silent now. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. Pacino looked at Sterling, then at his champagne glass, then back at Sterling. And in that moment, everyone in that ballroom knew what was about to happen. You measure everything in money, Pacino said quietly. Your tuxedo. $15,000, I'm guessing. Sterling blinked, thrown by the question. What does that? Is it 15,000? 20? 18,000, Sterling said reflexively, then caught himself. What's your point? Pacino held up his champagne glass. This bottle cost $500. You probably know that. You probably chose it specifically because of the price tag. So what? So this. Pacino tilted his glass and poured the champagne onto Sterling's tuxedo. The golden liquid hit the expensive fabric and spread, slowly, deliberately, down the lapel, across the chest, soaking into the silk. Sterling stood frozen, mouth open, unable to process what was happening. The entire ballroom was silent except for the sound of champagne hitting fabric. Drip, drip, drip. Pacino emptied the glass, every drop, then lowered it. $500 of champagne, he said quietly, just ruined $18,000 of vanity. Sterling finally found his voice. You insane, he sputtered, looking down at his ruined tuxedo. Do you know what you just did? I taught you something. Pacino's voice was calm. I taught you that expensive things don't make you untouchable, that money doesn't protect you from consequences, that respect isn't something you buy. It's something you earn. Sterling's hands were shaking, with rage, with humiliation. You're finished in this town. I'll make sure you never work again. You'll what? Pacino stepped closer, close enough that only Sterling could hear him. You'll tell everyone that Al Pacino poured champagne on you because you disrespected him? Go ahead, tell them. See if that makes you look powerful or pathetic. Sterling's mouth worked, but no words came out. Pacino raised his voice so the room could hear. You said young actors make more money than I ever did. You're right. They do. Because the industry you created values opening weekends over lasting impact, celebrity over craft, brand deals over actual acting. He paused. But here's what you don't understand, David. In 50 years, no one will remember how much money they made. They'll remember the work, the performances, the art. Pacino looked around the ballroom, at the faces watching, some shocked, some hiding smiles, some recording on their phones. You want to know the real difference between me and you? Pacino asked. I'll be remembered for what I created. You'll be remembered as the guy who got champagne poured on him at a gala. He set his empty glass on a passing waiter's tray. Enjoy your evening, David. And he walked away. The crowd parted. People stepped back, not out of fear, out of respect. Sterling stood there, champagne dripping from his $18,000 tuxedo, surrounded by his circle of sycophants who suddenly couldn't meet his eyes. Someone started clapping. Just one person, an older actress, in the back. Then another, and another. Within seconds, half the ballroom was applauding, not for the spectacle, for the principle, because everyone in that room had felt what Sterling represented. The dismissiveness, the casual cruelty, the belief that money made you better than everyone else. And they just watched someone say enough. Sterling's face went from red to white. He pushed through the crowd, heading for the exit, leaving a trail of champagne drops on the marble floor. His career didn't end that night. Men like Sterling are too well connected to fall from one public humiliation. But something else happened. The story spread. Social media exploded with videos of the incident. #champagne lesson trended worldwide. And within 6 months, 3 major studios quietly stopped working with Sterling. Not because of the champagne, because the incident had exposed something they'd all known but ignored, his contempt for the artists who made him rich. Young actors started declining his projects. Directors found reasons to back out of deals. The empire he'd built on dismissing others slowly crumbled. Not because Al Pacino destroyed him, because Al Pacino held up a mirror and the industry finally saw what they'd been enabling. 2 years later, Pacino was at another industry event, smaller, more intimate. an award ceremony for lifetime achievement. He was accepting his trophy when he saw Sterling in the audience. The producer looked different, thinner, grayer, humbler. Their eyes met. Sterling nodded. A small nod. Recognition, maybe even respect. Pacino nodded back. Because the lesson wasn't about revenge. It was about understanding that your actions have weight, your words have consequences, and money can't insulate you from either. The champagne that night cost $500. The tuxedo cost $18,000. But the lesson was priceless. Because it taught everyone watching that dignity isn't for sale. Respect can't be bought. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to accept being made small.